Hi Biodesign Challenge teens. This is a workshop that's going to review how to make clear root study tools using Tinkercad and SLA printing. And here's some examples from a couple of your cohorts. The one on the left is by Alec and the one on the right is by Isabella. Just backing up a little bit, this is created in Tinkercad. You're going to create a base layer and then a lid layer that you're going to slide on top. And this whole project is inspired by a research project at Berkeley, as well as our very first project, which was studying root growth in hydrogel beads that we stuck into Tic Tac containers. So this all revolves around the conversation of how might we study making little models of ecosystems for controllable ecosystems to study soil and plant microbe interactions. Okay, so we're going to get into the file we're going to work with. And this is in Tinkercad, and I will share this baseline file with you in an email, as well as I also will be sharing with you how to log in. I will share that with you in a little bit. Okay, so moving on to Tinkercad, I wanted to show you the template we'll be using. And basically what you're going to be doing is, I want you to think of this kind of like making a chocolate mold. The cavity in which you're going to grow your roots is going to be on this base plate. And then this one next to it is the lid. And what's going to happen is you're going to slide the lid on top of your base plate design. I'm just going to turn this example one here hollow so you can see what it looks like. So that's an example of a completed one. Okay, so let's start from the beginning. So when you open up this file, you're going to be working with these two pink pieces. And the very first thing you want to figure out is what is that shape you want to have at the bottom. So let me show you this again on this home page. Here's some examples of their designs, and you can see there's different shapes. Well, they're all oval here actually, but they have different shapes within that, and they have different numbers of like feeder ports, and then there's like a little hole for planting the seed. So going back to Tinkercad, I want you to think of this like the toy potato head. These are the different parts that you can use, and the way you would use these is you decide which one you want to use, and you can slide it over here onto your base plate, and then you can make it a hole, and then you can group it to make it the cavity that you're growing your seed in. But I'm going to work from scratch so I can show you that process. So again, our first step is to make the whole shape on this, and you have a whole area on the right that's kind of an elevator shaft of forms, and I'm going to pick a heart. And I'm going to scale it up a little bit. If you hold the shift key and drag out a corner, you keep your design in proportion and scale. But if you just drag a little point at the bottom, you can distort it. It's very important to move in different perspectives in Tinkercad. So to start with, let's observe this cube at the top left. This here enables you to move to different edges of your view. And this is moving in the Cartesian coordinate 3D planes. You can also right-click, this is what I do, right-click on my mouse and slide around, and that enables you to orbit as well. If you want to pan, that is move sideways in the same plane, or up and down, you can hold the rollerball on your cursor and move right to left. That's called panning. Orbiting is when you're shifting into different perspective planes. So now I'm going to grab my heart, and I'm going to move it over here, and I am going to push it into my form a little bit. And now I want to make this a hole. I want it to bite out of this pink material. So to do that, I need to click on it and then turn it into a hole by clicking on hole here. Okay? Now it hasn't been turned into a real hole yet because I have to group it with the pink form. I'm just going to turn sideways a little bit so you can see this particular feature of each object. So that black cone, again, is to lift up and down. Okay, so I'm just going to move that cone a little bit down. And if I want to see really how deep it is into this shape, I can turn my pink shape hole too. This is just a little trick. And then I could turn it totally sideways, and I could see how deep it's going down. I might push it down just a little bit more. Okay, And I'm going to orbit back this way. I'm going to turn my base plate pink again. And now to make this hole an actual hole, actually I'm going to widen it just a tad as well. Okay, to group this in a way that the whole thing works as a kind of like a chocolate mold hole, I'm going to grab the two shapes and I'm going to go up here to group. And now you can see that that's a cavity in the form, and that's exactly what I want. I'm almost done with my base plate. The next thing is I have to create the ports into which I can drop the fluids. And so that's what these little shapes here are for. I'm going to Control C, Control V, and then I'm going to just use my cursor, my arrows to move it around. Whoops. And down here in Edit Grid, I can go, let me move my whole view up. Where it says Snap Grid, I can make it 1 millimeter, so that when I move it, it has bigger jumps. Whoops, I keep doing that. Oh my goodness. Let me turn sideways a little bit. Okay, there we go. If I want to move it in smaller increments, I can move the snap grid to like 0.25. And that way when I use the arrow keys, it moves a little bit less. Okay, so I want a port here, and maybe I want my second port down below. I'm just going to use my arrow keys to do this. Let me get this view. Whoops. Let me redo that. Control C, Control V. I can rotate it by just grabbing a rotational arrow. Every object has 3 arrows that enable you to rotate it in 3 different orbits, planes. So it's got one at the top, one at the side, and you need to shift a little bit in order to see all of them. Okay, so I rotated that one. I'm going to move it over here. And as you can see, I'm constantly changing my view. This really helps me align things. So you should never be kind of stuck in one plane. You need to be moving around a lot. Okay, so let's say I have this aligned where I want it. I am going to make it a hole, and I'm going to do the same thing I did with the heart. I'm going to draw a selection box and select all these here, and then I'll group it. Now when I go sideways, I can see there's a little bit, not my little ports are not quite the height I want, so I'm going to go back up here and go to Ungroup. I'm going to go sideways, unclick, and then select the ports again, and just move them ever so slightly down till I think that they are flush. Draw my selection box again so I have all the objects here selected, and go back up to group, and that looks good to me. Alright, so let's say that I am done with my base plate. I now need to work on the lid, and so to do that I'm going to go sideways and I'm going to raise this cone, and then I'm going to use my arrow keys to line this on top. Now I can't really see how I'm aligning and where my ports are needed, so I'm going to turn this whole thing into a hole, and I am going to lower it a little bit more so I can make sure that I'm aligned. And I'm going to zoom in. You can zoom in using the rollerball on your mouse, if you have such a rollerball on your mouse. And then I'm going to pan a little bit. And you just want to get the top and the bottom aligned as best as possible. And again, I often use my arrow keys to move things up and down. Okay. I'm going to go sideways, so you want to go to all different directions. I'm going to select my lid again and just move it. Okay, so my holes are not perfectly aligned, so I will fix that in a moment. But what I'd really like to do is create my port. So there's a couple things that are needed. So let's look back at the EchoFab. So every single one of theirs has at least 2 ports. This one has 1, I think. And each one has a hole to drop the seed in. We might be using peas, so we're going to make a little bit bigger hole. So basically what we want to do is one larger hole for dropping the seed, and 2 holes for the ports. And you will find on your table here with your potato head pieces, these 2 smaller ones that can be used for ports, and then this bigger one for the seed. So I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to copy it. I'll copy this one. You can also do Control D and duplicate it that way. And I'm just going to put mine kind of in the corner of the heart. And then I'm going to take, oops, it's copying the wrong thing. A duplicate of this smaller cylinder and try to align it where I want for that port. And again, you're going to want to shift into different views to make sure that you're aligning things pretty well. And then I just need one more port hole. And that one I'm going to stick in the top left. So again, what you want to put on the lid are 2 port holes that go into the little port areas and 1 hole to drop in the seed. Okay, so I have all 3 of those there. I think, let me see about the alignment. So I'm just going to orbit around the whole thing and make sure it's pretty much aligned. I think my only challenge is this particular cylinder here doesn't look quite aligned. So I'm going to ungroup my base plate, and I am going to go sideways so I can grab just that 1 cylinder hole. And I'm just going to move it down until it seems aligned. I think that looks better. And now I'm going to group only the objects on the lid. And so you really want to go sideways for that. So as you can see, I've orbited to the side. And now I'm going to grab all of my objects. But before I do that, I need to turn the lid to a solid color again. I'm going to turn it back to pink. And okay, so this is what I have. These 2 holes, top and bottom, are going to be ones that go all the way through, so I can maybe sew it down or attach it to something. These 2 in the corners are port holes that fluid's going to be dropped into, like the fertilizers. And then this bigger hole is for the seed. Okay, so I'm going to pitch sideways, and now I'm just drawing a selection box around the objects that I want to group. Go back up to group. And now when I look at it, this is what it looks like. And that's exactly how I want it. And then my last step is to make sure that my lid is actually attached to the base. So I just want to make sure that they are overlapping slightly or together. Okay. And now I'm going to draw a selection box around both of those and go up to group. I'm going to reorbit, and it's kind of hard to see right now because it's solid, so I'm going to turn everything into a hole, and now I can see my final design. So my final design has a lid. It's all one shape now. It's going to print as one form. So the lid now is fused with the base. There is an area for the liquids. There's a hole that goes into that area for the seed, and then 2 ports for dropping in liquids. Okay, so good luck with your designs. I will deconstruct this so we're all working from the same base plates and same parts from this particular file. And I wish everyone great luck on their designs. And again, this is what you're doing in Tinkercad, a base and a top, you're sliding them together, and then we're going to print them in 3 clear SLA resin, and then you're going to plant a seed in here and we're going to watch the roots grow. So thank you guys for your time and good luck.